What's going on, guys? So in today's edition of Kakashi Retsuden, we got a lot of good information to get to, but obviously if you're new here to the channel and you accidentally stumbled across this video and you have no idea what Kakashi Retsuden is, I'm going to recommend going to the home page, scrolling down to the Naruto novel section and looking for the Naruto novel set in the Boruto era and clicking on Kakashi Retsuden's playlist, because from this point on, I'm assuming you're caught up and you know everything that happened prior to this. So in today's edition of Kakashi Retsuden, we're going to be continuing the story and we're going to be covering the part where as Kakashi is fighting against this army of 300 people, Kakashi has focused on the 50 high-level shinobi that make up the forces, and Kakashi has been moving through the camp and he's been taking them out 6 to 10 people at a time. And in this particular scene, Kakashi is fighting 14 people all at once, and all these ninja have varying degrees of skill, but they're all rogue ninjas, so that gives you an idea of what their skill level is. Well, one ninja in particular is actually somebody who was excommunicated from Konoha, and the person's hiding in the shadows waiting for the right moment to take out Kakashi, and he specifically says that if he can kill the former 6th Hokage, that he'll be able to cash in. So at this point, the guy's looking at Kakashi and he basically thinks he can hit a lick on Kakashi Hatake, and when he's looking at him, he's really thinking that it's possible because Kakashi throughout all these battles hasn't used any ninjutsu at all. At most, all Kakashi's done is just use genjutsu, and that leads this shinobi who used to be in Konoha to believe that Kakashi right now is running low on chakra. And when you think about it, somebody from Konoha coming to the conclusion that Kakashi is running low on chakra is not too crazy. All you have to do is go back to the early parts of Naruto. Kakashi's stamina was always an issue. Just using the Sharingan for short bursts in time, in particular in the Land of Waves arc, left Kakashi on crutches and bedridden. And throughout the series, as we saw Kakashi overuse his Sharingan, Kakashi always ended up in the hospital or he ended up burning through his chakra very quickly. So the idea that he would come to this conclusion that Kakashi has bad stamina is not a crazy thing. Not many people in Konoha would know that Kakashi had those issues because of the strain that the Sharingan has. That intel's not going to be made readily available to everybody in Konoha. Only the people who have the Sharingan or directly deal with Kakashi would be able to come to that conclusion. But getting back to it though, what I find interesting right here is that Kakashi, in the scene I'm going to share with you guys, has a moment where as he's fighting and dodging lightning release jutsu fired at point blank range, advanced lightning release jutsu on top of that, Kakashi's dodging it and he's reflecting the attacks, and Kakashi is easily holding his own against these shinobi. Kakashi takes the time to turn around and make eye contact with the shinobi who is hiding in the shadows, who was planning to assassinate Kakashi. And that's just Kakashi letting the guy know that you might be hiding, but I know where you are and I'm about to come for your ass. So with the scene and the context finally being set, is here I'm going to begin reading the passage from the novel, and then I'm going to come back to you guys with my thoughts, and there's a lot to break down here. So getting right into it, it's here that I quote, "The intruder was the 6th Hokage. He had to inform his friends about this as soon as possible, but the man's body did not seem to move, which was a bit of trouble. The sweet scent of the smoke bombs was gradually numbing his body, and his thoughts seemed to be going further and further away. He eventually let go of his consciousness, and the flame spear that pierced the ground disappeared. There were 14 people left. Kakashi shook his silver hair like a blazing sun's flame as it got red from the blood that stained his hair. He picked up a bloody sword and returned it to one of the unconscious shinobi. There was a man who recognized the frightening figure. It was no doubt he was the 6th Hokage, Kakashi Hatake. How can they even meet him in such a remote place? He was trying to hide in the thick branches, and the blood flowing through his body suddenly felt like cheap booze. This man was once a shinobi of Konoha. After being exiled from the Land of Fire, he was only hired by such a small country as a shinobi. But the tables have turned now. He considered himself lucky. He could kill Kakashi today and he could get his revenge. He could collect a bounty on Kakashi. He knew a good technique to chop up the opponent from the blind spot by changing the chakra nature that is disguised as a shuriken. The man took a deep breath and he waited for Kakashi to become occupied with the fighting. 12 shinobi surrounded Kakashi. Some of them had samurai swords, some of them had shurikens, and others were taking the opportunity to weave hand signs. As one of them tried to attack Kakashi, twisted the wrist of the man who was about to slash him with the sword, and suddenly looked back at the man hidden in the branches. Their eyes certainly met. Immediately, the back of the man's body shrunk as if he was holding a heavy stone. Fear began to set in. Kakashi quickly diverted his gaze and bent his body to dodge the thunderstorm shuriken jutsu that was coming at his back. Look at that speed, the man thought to himself. The man put all of his power into his trembling hand as he watched, in an effort to keep it from shaking. The 12 shinobi all fell onto the ground in no time with single attacks. The man gave no surprise and descended from the hidden branches to expose himself in front of Kakashi. The distance between them was now only a few meters at best. While jumping from side to side in order to get close to Kakashi's blind spot, he wondered if he could get there in time or not. It was then that his name was called, as if he was a child being played with by an academy instructor. Shin Hakubi. Kakashi remembered the face of the man who was a special ninja. Hakubi, is it a coincidence that you're here? Kakashi had said, still keeping his back to Hakubi. Who knows, maybe it's a coincidence, but I can take my revenge now. Hakubi suddenly stopped talking as Kakashi seemed to have smiled a bit before turning. Feeling hatred, Hakubi suddenly went crazy. I'll make you a dead person in this place, Hakubi shouted. He started molding his chakra for his jutsu. He knew from watching the battles that Kakashi wasn't using any ninjutsu at all, probably because he used up all of his chakra, and most of the ninjas expected that the mud walls being maintained by more than one person anyway. Kakashi's chakra reserves weren't big enough for something like that. The biggest luck in his life was that he met the Hokage when he was out of chakra. Hakubi laughed. I've heard the rumors that you've lost that special eye of yours. Why are you still hiding that one eye then? You shouldn't have been able to see my chakra nature changing under the Thunder Shuriken with their ordinary eyes. Kakashi of the Sharingan, don't make me laugh. After that, he threw 8 more strikes towards Kakashi, who just jumped lightly in order to avoid the attack. The electric current, which was like a razor, was integrated into the shuriken and aimed to strike Kakashi from all directions, and he was certain that it would hit him. Or rather, Hakubi thought that this would suffice, but then Kakashi turned around and repelled the attack with reflexes that couldn't be followed by the eyes. What Kakashi did should have been impossible. There were already 3 shuriken in his blind spot. Hakubi waited for the moment when Kakashi's body was chopped up without blinking. Kakashi pushed up the forehead proctor, which was hiding his left eye. I'm so dumb, Hakubi said with a deep breath. Kakashi's exposed left eye was shining red. The 3 tomo looked like floating irises. Certainly, Kakashi's left eye still had a unique ability. Hakubi shouted in fear. With a clear sound, a shuriken that was in Kakashi's blind spot was blown off and cut Hakubi's shoulder. It felt quite painful, but he didn't mind. Was Kakashi still alive? It shouldn't have been the case. It was stupid. Kakashi should have lost his Sharingan eye. He had gotten it from reliable sources. However, Kakashi actually deflected his Thunder Shuriken, and it wouldn't have been possible without the Sharingan. Kakashi jumped into his field of view and punched him in the stomach. He was losing his consciousness while feeling nauseous. Hiding his left eye under the forehead proctor, Kakashi muttered, looking down at the fallen man. Shin Hakubi, a man who was once a special shinobi in Konoha. Your skills, they weren't bad, but you were repeatedly stealing goods during missions, and you got dismissed as a result. Kakashi released his jutsu. End quote. So right here, I want you guys to pay close attention to something. So if you guys will recall, as Kakashi was going through and he was doing the fighting against all the other ninjas, one of the things that Kakashi did is he made eye contact with Shin Hakubi, and in that time, Kakashi had already placed him under a genjutsu. I think a lot of people forget genjutsu isn't just casted by visual eye contact like people like Madara and Itachi do, but instead genjutsu, as long as you're weaving the hand signs fast enough, genjutsu can be casted on other people. And in a situation like this, as Kakashi is simultaneously fighting against all of these 12 ninja that surrounded him, he's already placed Hakubi under a genjutsu, and that's why Hakubi thought that Kakashi still had his 3 tomo Sharingan. So I like that one little tidbit right there, because right there you're seeing that Kakashi is able to place people under a genjutsu so fast that they're not able to react to it. And that's one of the interesting things right there, is that Kakashi is still saving his chakra, and it's because he knows he has to contend with the Suigu, which is a weapon left by the Sage of Six Paths. When it is fully unleashed, it's able to flood the entire country. Kakashi knows that he has to reserve his chakra for the battle that's coming up with the Prime Minister of Redaku. So I like this little bit right here. What's also interesting about this is that Kakashi very casually has taken down 50 elite shinobi, and in the time after this, he's gonna be making his way through the rest of the camp, getting rid of the regular mercenaries. But this is still a pretty impressive moment right here. And what I also like about it is that Kakashi is showing that even though he doesn't have the Sharingan, he still has really fast reflexes. And you saw this to a certain extent when he fought against Kashin Koji and was able to force Kashin Koji onto a defensive, and Koji had to step back and dodge his purple lightning. So we are in a situation where we're seeing some of that skill that Kakashi displayed in this novel. But what I want to know from you guys is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how stupid do you have to be to try and assassinate a Kage by underestimating them and just assuming that they're running low on chakra? Me personally, I look at it and I say, this is somebody who achieved the rank of Kage for a reason. It'd be stupid to underestimate them. So I want to know from you guys, what are you guys' thoughts on this? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you have anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Have an awesome day, guys.